I'm Amy Fisher for EBTV. I'm at the Grounds for Sculpture in Hamilton, where we came on a beautiful day in October to interview Mr. J. Seward Johnson Jr., whose sculpture has become part of the American landscape. One of his pieces recently has been in the news a lot. It's a statue that is at the World Trade Center and has become an impromptu memorial for the tragedy of September 11th. We began our conversation by talking with him about that, and then he took us on a tour of the grounds. Mr. Johnson, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with us today. One of your statues was in the World Trade Center and still is in the World Trade Center and has become the subject of many newspaper articles and pictures. Could you tell us about when you did that and what kind of reaction you've received?
Yeah, I did that piece in 1983, and I think it went there in 1983 or 4. And I loaned it to Merrill Lynch, actually, and they put it in, they own Liberty Park Plaza or whatever it was, and I put it on one of those benches there. And it's sort of an everyman of the businessman world. He's supposed to not attract attention because he's supposed to be just one of the crowd sitting there. He's looking in his briefcase, making a last-minute check before an appointment of some facts or something, and so it is something that people can identify with as they sit down and have their lunch breaks there and whatnot. And I actually thought that obviously this piece had been lost. It was so close to the North Tower, I believe it was, and it turned out to be the only piece that was not damaged, and so I'm very happy, and I'm happy to learn that people had put flowers on it and American flag in his hand, and one fella put a working helmet on his head.
Oh, really?
And so, there are all of these notes that were left on him saying that it's like a makeshift monument.
Right.
That was right then the spirit of the rescue work that was going on around him. And so I just love what has happened to him, because he did represent so many of the people that were lost there. I mean, he was one of them, and he came through it, and so I'm hoping to recreate the sculpture, just capturing this moment of aftermath where all of the rescue workers have related to him, and that was the moment of horror, the moment of hope. Afterwards, it was when the emotions were running the highest and not knowing where to go, and I think that celebrates that moment. I'm trying to capture all of that.
It was interesting, and Newsweek had a very large picture of it, and then subsequently there was a letter to the editor from someone who now lives in Massachusetts, who used to work at the World Trade Center, and she was saying how she used to sit and eat lunch next to that statue, and she thinks that should be the permanent memorial because, as you said, it captures the spirit of the people, and that the buildings may be gone, but the people are still there.
Well, I always believe that something real of the moment is what has to be. I mean, I have been offered lots of ideas of ways to do a memorial, and before I even knew Double Check was Survivor, and well, just like the Iwo Jima, it's a moment of it captures that moment, not some later thing. And so it is. I think that's what makes that a valuable thing to have.
Well, your work is really in so many places. I guess it's impossible to talk about all of them, but the Grounds for Sculpture is where you can see a lot of your work at one time. And our purpose really today was to come and talk to you about how this got started and what your role in it. So this used to be the New Jersey Fairgrounds.
Yes, it was, and when I first saw it, I'm afraid I never enjoyed the New Jersey Fairgrounds because I was living in Princeton, but I never got over here earlier. And so when I finally saw it, it was a rubble-strewn acreage, and it looked like Dresden after the Second World War. I mean, broken bricks and everything all over the. And so my idea was to, because I had the Johnson Atelier, which is a institution to teach sculpture and to make sculpture. It's a foundry and a stone carving facility. And so I thought, well, we ought to have a place to put sculpture up. I didn't picture anything like this. And but it's funny when there's an idea and it works, and we developed just a little part of this, and it worked so well that we developed more, and we sort of learned as we went. And what we've tried to do is we make everything a surprise here. We have nearly 200 sculptures on the grounds, and we try to make it so you are taking them on one at a time and relating to them. And we try to have other things going on. I mean, we put them next to hillsides of roses, or next to a bench near a tree, or different wonderful places to sit and just vegetate or relate to nature. And so so there are people who've been, there was one lady who came here, said, I've been here, coming here since the beginning in 1992, and she said, I know the park inside out, and she said, I just love your new piece, the picnic. It was Manet's Déjeuner sur l'herbe, which is picnic in the grass, well, that piece was the first piece we put in the park, so that shows how well we hid it from her for 10 years.
How long did it take you to transform this from the rubble to this beautiful place?
Well, it's in a constant development. I mean, that's been 10 years now, and we planted some, I think, 8,000 or 9,000 trees on the property, and then we just developed and brought sculpture in, and now it has really taken form.
Yes.
And we keep trying to, even like we see a space, we say this space is too big.
Right.
We cut it in half, make 2 rooms out of it. We have a place where you go through under an arbor, and it lets you into one space, and then you go through a tunnel with a mirror on the other side, so it's a little frightening. You see somebody coming the other way, and then you get to the back space, and the sun is hitting these glass sculptures, and as you come out of the tunnel, it's sort of like theater. I arrange it so you're going into dark to look at light. You're looking at sculpture and light. And so it makes it fun, but also it makes it a place to come and think. I've been written so many letters from people who've lost their loved ones, and they come here, and it mends them. It's a place to just take things in at your own speed.
Yes.
And we have poetry stands with poetry on it, and then you can reach inside and get a copy of that poem and take it home with you if it spoke to you.
Wonderful, yes.
And so we have also events here this next year it's going to be about every other week. We've got musical events, we've recitals, we've got opera, we've got dance, and so those things are fun to come to, because what happens is that these other art forms take place in front of sculpture.
We're sitting in front of this beautiful scene. Could you tell us what it is and why you decided to do it?
This scene is Monet's earlier work, I think. It's called Terrace de St. Andrews. That's the name of the painting that I did this from. And what I call it is If It Were Time. My wife wrote a book called If It Were Time, and in it she had a place where the main character was looking through an art book and came upon Terrace de St. Andrews, and the way she described it was so emotionally involving that I couldn't help but I said, I'm going to do a sculpture of that and try to capture it.
It is wonderful.
And what I did was, because it is viewed from above, I built this hill here, and then you look down and you come over the hill, and it's like theater. It opens before you, and you see it all at once. And so it worked very well. And I think that it's one of my more favorite pieces that I've done.
What amazes me, among many other things, is that the Grounds for Sculpture is huge, and compared to other sculpture gardens, I can't even imagine the amount of work it takes to keep this going. I mean, how many people work here?
Well, we have, we have the director. I'd say we have, on the regular staff, we have maybe 8. Mm-hmm. Then we have a lot of volunteers. We have a couple of hundred volunteers that spend time. And then we have these master gardeners, yes, that join, and they keep, we let them each have a favorite part that they want to keep up. Mm-hmm. And there are these little joys that you can find here and there, yes, and everything's hidden. It's all sequential. Mm-hmm. The experiences that you have, we have it. Other earlier sculpture parks are bigger than this. There's Storm King is 200 acres.
Oh, really?
And but you see all of it at once, mm-hmm, and so therefore it's just getting across that land to get to it. What we're trying to do is hide everything from each other, make it into a new experience as you come around the corner. Right. And so you miss it, you come back and you find it later.
It's just an absolutely wonderful place to spend the day. Now, you also have indoor exhibits.
Yes, 3 times a year we have important sculptors from all over the world exhibit here. And we have 2 museums now. We're going to have a third, where we're going to we have these changing exhibits, and there's one that just took place. It was the International Sculpture Center, and all their board of directors put their sculptures up, and then they had the students from around the world competing for the student show, and so that's up too. And we've had Magdalena Abakanowicz, we've had Beverly Pepper, we've had George Segal, we've had pretty much every famous sculptor. I still have to get Botero, who I think very much of, and it makes for something that's exciting to come to, that's in the museums. Right. But then what's out in the park, which is another 180 some pieces, a more restful type of experience. Yes. And these are the ones that have found a home, so to speak. Yes. These are the permanent collection.
Now you also have a very famous restaurant called Rats, and I read that you chose the name for it. Could you tell us about that?
Yes, I did. Much to everyone's horror, I've changed. I wanted a restaurant called Rats, and my good excuse for that is that it's comes from Wind in the Willows, a wonderful children's story where it was about the different animals in the woods, and there's toad, there's rat, there's badger, there's these different characters, and Rat loved to entertain, so it seemed that he would be a good host. The reason I like it is because it's a very expensive restaurant, pretty expensive, it's top of the line, and when a CEO brings his guests there, he's going to be a little bit defensive because he's bringing them to a restaurant called Rats. And I just love the dynamics in the car of going there. Really, it's a good place, I promise you, type of thing. And then I brought it to a head because there's a gypsy caravan that is the entrance to the place. And I had a clothesline going up with long underwear hanging from the clothesline. And so that puts the poor CEO at a further disadvantage, as people are wondering. The New York Times did an article and said its stars spelled backwards, and the Philadelphia Inquirer did an article and said the impertinence of it all, but because they love that sort of the chutzpah of doing that, and it's such a beautiful place.
Right.
It is. I find it hard being the person, but it's the most beautiful restaurant I've ever been in, and so it's a thing to come to, and we have over 800 different wines that we serve. Wow. And the food is good.
You also have a cafe for people who
don't want to spend that.
Snack.
Yes, who don't want to spend as much. We have a cafe menu, and especially for lunch, that's a good thing coming out of the park. We also have a cafe at the other end of the park that is fairly gourmet. I mean, I really, in fact, he used to cook for my family all the time, and Sean did, and souffle, and we're going to have, I'm hoping later to build a hotel. We have another 7 acres.
Wow.
And of course, I'm going to do the same thing with the hotel. I'm going to call it the Bed Bug Inn. And so,
I like that.
But it's going to be top line. I mean, it'll, and they'll just have to take their chance to go there.
How do you find time to do all of this, do your work, and you have other interests also?
Well, what happens is that I start all of these projects because I'm such an impatient person that if I wait for 1 or 2 projects to be done, I go crazy. So I start another one and another one, and pretty soon the projects are pushing me. And so it is, I'm not sure whether it's the right way to live, but it's exciting. And
never bored, I'm sure.
No, I'm never bored. I'm always behindhand catching up, but it's so exciting to come back. My newest, biggest project for here is going to be on November 10th. There'll be the unveiling. It's Renoir's boating party, and it'll have 19 figures in it. Wow. And it is so. And if you do something at the atelier, when you get to the paint division, you'll see that there, and it's wild. It's wonderful.
Let's talk a little bit about the work of the atelier. How many people work there?
There are about 110, 15 work there, between the stone division and the casting, and there's so many parts to it. There are about 11 departments, and it is a place we're like a commercial foundry, but at the same time we're a school. And it allows, because we pour metal every day, it allows the students to learn, and they come from, I think it's about 72 countries in the world now
Fantastic.
to study there. And they're studying the technical aspects of sculpture, and it gives them, they're all sculptors. Even the bookkeeper is a sculptor there. I mean, so that's by chance. They, I think they were the bookkeeper first, and they got so excited they made a sculpture.
I guess it's contagious.
It is. It is. It's so much fun. It used to be very easy going there. I mean, we once had somebody sculpt an art cannon. And on 4th of July, they shot it off.
Wow.
And they were aiming it at a barrel of rubble. It missed the barrel of rubble. The shot went across the lake here and hit a house on the other side. And the place was surrounded by police. Luckily, nobody was hurt. But it was a typical thing when a bunch of artists get together. So we've had to calm things down a little bit. But it is so spontaneous there and so infectious. And at RATS, we give artists a discount.
Oh.
And that's all artists, writers, and painters. But they have to sort of register with us so we can check that they're a true artist. It's only the artist who's struggling, I mean, who is living on their art that we would consider, not someone who just paints a picture now and then.
Right. Your park has attracted the attention of people from all over the world. What are some of the inquiries you've had about it?
Well, we've had two from, we have lots of people coming from all over the world, but Beijing is building a park in China. It's north of Beijing by 40 miles, I think. Maybe a little bit further, and they want to make it a sister park. They've already spent some $50 million on acquiring sculpture, and they want to make it like this and be a sister park to us. Also, in Turin, in Italy, Torino, they asked our director to come over to help them develop their park. And so it is, in its short life, it has become known. And I think it's because for 22 acres, it's very compressed. You got a whole day here, and you don't run out of things to discover.
No, it's just so peaceful and then so exciting at the same time. It's sort of incongruous,
You've hit it. That is a, yes, and so therefore, as your mood shifts, you can pick up either one of those, and play that mood out, which I think people have to do because they're always otherwise reacting to the outside, and this sort of protects them from that.
Right. This evening you are going to be receiving an award as Man of the Year from the New Jersey Art Society, which is certainly a well-deserved...
Art Center, I think it's called.
Art Center.
Yes.
Okay, well-deserved. Your work, as I said, is just part of the landscape. It's everywhere. Could you tell us about outside of this country where it is?
Well, I have them in England, in France, in Germany, in Italy, in Spain, in Switzerland, in Turkey, in China, in Australia, in Japan,
Wonderful.
Mexico.
And we should mention that it's also a piece of yours is right outside of the East Brunswick Public Library. So we invite all of our viewers to go and see that before they come to the Grounds for Sculpture. Could you just tell us briefly in closing, when is the Grounds for Sculpture open?
It's open every day but Mondays, and some Mondays, if they're a holiday, we're going to be open then. And and it opens, I think, at 10 o'clock in the morning and closes at 9 at night. It's all lit at night. It's magical at night. And you can go to RATS and then go out walking in the park after night. And it's all surrounded by, it's all enclosed, so it's very safe feeling and very romantic feeling, and there are all these places to hide to get to know somebody better.
Well, it's an absolutely fantastic place to be, and thanks so much for letting us come and film and talk with you. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on your award, and we hope to see you again.
Thanks a lot.
Well, that's the end of our tour of the Grounds for Sculpture. It's been a wonderful visit. I hope that all of you will be able to come here someday too. It's about a 45-minute drive from East Brunswick, and it's a great place to go. If you need directions, you can call the Grounds for Sculpture at 609-586-0616. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.